Good evening, guys. In the last class, we have discussed regarding the full wave rectifier with center tap transformer configuration. We have also seen the MATLAB simulations of the waveforms, and we have found that the output waveforms are identical to that of a full wave rectifier with bridge configuration. That's why we could rewrite the analysis like we got the same DC output voltage, DC output current, RMS output current or RMS output voltage, and then form factor, peak factor, ripple factor, everything else, rectifier efficiency, everything else will be the same. The only difference will be the peak inverse voltage. In a center tap transformer configuration, the peak inverse voltage will be twice that of the VM, where VM is the peak of the input voltage. Whereas either in a full wave rectifier with a bridge configuration or a half wave rectifier, the peak inverse voltage will be equal to VM. And then I thought that today we'll be discussing the transformer utilization factor of the center tap transformer configuration. So let us see that. I'll be sharing you the screen now. So please let me know if my screen is visible to you or not. Please let me know if my screen is visible to you or not.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, fine. Okay. So already this notes it's have shared it in the canvas. You can go through that. So I have zoomed the screen. Is it visible to you now? Is the screen legible? Are you able to read what is there on the screen? Okay, fine. So we have the definition of the transformer utilization factor. So what is transformer utilization factor? Transformer utilization factor is the DC power delivered to the load divided by the effective VA rating of the transformer. Okay. So till now, whether it is the term effective we have not considered, we are simply writing the VA rating which is there on the secondary of the transformer. However, in a center tap transformer configuration, we do not have two winding setup, we have a three winding setup. Okay, in this case, we cannot directly write the effective VA rating as a secondary VA rating of the transformer. Here we need to find the average of the secondary VA ratings of the average VA rating of the two windings on the secondary side, and then we shall again take the we shall take the VA rating on the primary side. We'll take the average of all those things, from which we'll get the effective VA rating. Okay, so first we'll find out the PDC. PDC is already known to you. It is 2Im by pi whole square into RL. This will keep it aside. Now coming to secondary side of the transformer. So if we take the transformer, we have three windings. So this winding one on the primary side, this primary side is whatever I'm writing on the screen is visible to you, because I think the screen is struck for me on the left. It is not visible. Okay, let me reshare then. I think it is already visible. Okay, I'll stop the broadcasting and reshare it. Now is it visible?
No, sir.
Just wait for a minute for the screen to load. Is my screen loaded or not? No. I do not know what's the problem. Is my screen visible or not visible?
Yes, sir.
Visible. What you are seeing on the screen?
It's the Teams window, sir.
What?
The Teams
Can you
meeting
see
window.
the transformer diagram that I'm writing? No, not the
No, sir.
Teams meeting window. I have shared a PDF file. I'm opening the PDF
No, sir.
file. So I'm writing over the PDF actually. I do not know. I'll just wait for a minute and again write. Is my tablet screen is visible to you? Okay. What I'll do is rejoin. I'll stop. So what you're seeing on the screen?
The home screen of your tablet, sir.
Okay, okay. Is it visible? Okay, fine. Now the PDF that I opened, is it loaded?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So in that case, okay, can you see this transformer diagram on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have two windings. So on the primary we have one winding. I have numbered one. On the secondary I have two windings. Okay. So on the secondary, side, I have winding 1 and then winding 2. Okay. Is it visible? Okay. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the VA1 and VA2 for the secondary side. Okay. So I have VA1 of secondary. Can you see it? So is my screen visible properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So for the VA1 secondary, what we need to do, as like earlier, what we'll be doing is we are multiplying the AC voltage across transformer winding 1 of secondary with the AC current flowing through the transformer winding 1, okay, of the secondary only. So what is the AC voltage across the transformer of secondary? What's the AC voltage RMS value?
VM by root 2.
Vm by root 2. So here we are writing Vm by root 2 because at the ends of the transformer we are still having a non-rectified voltage. It's a still a solid voltage, right? That's why it is Vm by root 2. And then we have the current flowing in the secondary circuit, secondary side of the circuit. So what's the current flowing? So current will be a rectified current or a non-rectified current? Hello? Rectified current, right? So what is the value of your
IM by
rectified
2.
current? Im by
IM by
2.
2.
So RMS value of U is Im by 2. So we will be multiplying Vm by root 2 with Im by 2 for second winding. Okay, for the third winding or the VA2 of your secondary, again it will be similarly Vm by root 2 into Im by root 2. So what is the total VA rating of the secondary winding of the means secondary side of
IM
your
by 2.
transformer? So it is
IM by
VA1
root 2.
plus VA2. So it is if you add both of this, you will get Vm Im by root 2.
So it is
Are you
still
able to
stuck
see
in the
this on the
page number
screen?
1, sir.
What?
The presentation is still in the first page only, sir. The transform utilization factor and the
I have
diagram.
not changed. I am still in the first page only. I have not changed the page.
Yes, sir, but what you are writing on screen is not visible to us.
Okay, okay, no problem. Then what I'll do is not I'll disconnect from my tab and then I'll directly connect to my PC then. Okay, so I think now the problem will be sorted out. So, but I may not be able to write it on the PDF file. Anyway, I'll showcase that. Okay, is my screen visible now? No, what are I'm showing on the screen? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Transformer.
Okay, fine. So what we have first found is VA1 of the secondary. So we have two windings on the secondary side. So first winding I'm calling as VA1, second winding I'm calling it as VA2. Okay, both are there on the secondary side of the transformer. For the VA1 I'm getting Vm by root 2 into Im by 2. Okay, this VA1 secondary. Similarly, VA2 secondary will be Vm to Im by 2. Can you see? Please answer. Can you see this on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yes, fine. So what will be the total VA rating of the secondary side of the transformer? It will be VA1 plus VA2. Okay. So we'll be adding that Vm by root 2 into Im by 2 plus Vm by root 2 into Im by 2. So total it will be 2 into Vm by root 2 into Im by 2. So 2 gets cancelled. We will be left out with Vm Im by root 2. So can you see this Vm Im by root 2 as a total VA rating of the secondary side of the transformer? Can you see this in the box?
Yes, sir.
Right? So that is the secondary side VA rating. Now we need to find out the VA rating of the primary side. So I open the note. So rectified non-rectified voltage on the primary side. Please tell me. You have a transformer, right? On the secondary side, you are connecting the load. Non-rectified voltage, right? So for non-rectified voltage means it's a pure sinusoidal voltage, right? So what is RMS value of the voltage on the primary side? What is the RMS value? Vm by root 2. Similarly, current is a rectified current or non-rectified current on the primary side of the transformer?
Non-rectified, sir.
Non-rectified.
Non-rectified, right? So only in the secondary side of the transformer you are seeing a rectified current flowing in the circuit, whereas in the primary side still the current is a non-rectified AC current. Okay, so you can get a sinusoidal current on the primary side of your transformer. So what is the RMS value of your current on the primary side of the transformer? Im by root 2. Okay, so that's what we are getting. So VA of the primary side will be now equal to Vm by root 2 into Im by root 2. Okay. So can you see this? So I think the scan is not proper, but I think it is still you can read it. Vm by root 2 into Im by root 2. Okay. So it's the primary VA on the VA rating of the transformer. So what is the primary VA rating? Please read it out. Read out what is there in the box. Im by root 2. Okay. Now effective VA rating of the transformer will be the average of the primary VA rating and secondary VA rating. Primary VA rating is Vm Im by 2. Root 2 into root 2 is 2. Okay. And secondary VA rating, what we got earlier? Vm Im by root 2. Okay. Can you see that? So what we are going to do is we are going to add both of them and then divide by 2. We are taking the average. Okay. So when you are taking the average, we are getting what you are getting on the screen. Please read it out. What's the effective VA rating you are seeing on the screen? Please read it out.
Vm Im by 4 root 2 into 2 plus root 2. Sir.
We are taking the average. Okay. So then we are getting this term. So now we know the effective VA rating. Okay. So again, Vm we have to replace with only the current terms. So what I can write is Vm, I will write it as Im into Rf plus RL. Okay, if I rewrite that, effective VA rating will be equal to Im square into Rf plus RL into 2 plus root 2 by 4 root 2. Okay, later on we may neglect this Rf at a later point of time. Now what will be your transfer utilization factor? It is PDC by effective VA rating. So PDC already we got that 2 Im by pi whole square into RL, that is 4 Im square by pi square into RL into divide by your effective VA rating. So in the effective VA rating, in the denominator you have 4 root 2, that comes to the numerator now, and whatever there in the numerator will come to the denominator now. So 2 plus root 2 into Im square into Rf plus RL will come to the denominator. Now Im square gets cancelled. You are left out with 4 into 4, 16. 16 root 2 by pi square into 2 plus root 2 into RL by Rf plus RL. Again, if you are neglecting the Rf value, this numerator and denominator gets cancelled. You are left out with 16 root 2 by pi square into 2 plus root 2. Okay. So this is the value of your transformer utilization factor in a full wave rectifier with center tap transformer configuration. Its value is nearly equal to 0.672. Okay, can you see that TUF value? Hello, please respond.
Yes, sir.
Can you see the TF value? Right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this will be this TF will be quite different from that of how we calculate for the half wave rectifier or a full wave rectifier with bridge configuration. So if you have any query regarding this, you can ask me, or else we'll move on to the next topic. Okay. So still we have some kind of comparison is there. So comparison of the rectifiers. So I'll do the simple quick comparison, and then we will move on to the next application of diodes. Okay. So we have half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier, and bridge rectifier. In half wave rectifier, we have only one diode. In full wave rectifier, that is with center tap configuration. So if we do not mention any kind of configuration by full wave rectifier, you should consider it as a center tap transformer configuration alone. Okay. So in a full wave rectifier, we have 2 diodes. In a bridge rectifier, we have 4 diodes in the circuit diagram. And then coming to the output voltages, in half wave rectifier, the negative half cycle will be missing in the output voltage. In a full wave rectifier, the negative half cycle will come to the both in the center tapped configuration and the bridge rectifier configuration. The output waveform is similar. And average DC current is IDC is equal to IM by pi in half wave rectifier, whereas in both the full wave rectifiers it is 2IM by pi. RMS current is IM by 2 in half wave rectifier, whereas IM by root 2 in both the full wave rectifiers. Form factor is pi by 2 or 1.57 in half wave rectifier, whereas it is 1.11 in case of both bridge rectifier and your center tap transformer configuration rectifier. And then peak factor. So peak factor for a half wave rectifier it is 2, whereas for your full wave rectifier it is root 2 in both the configurations. Ripple factor is 1.21. It's a large value. The gamma is equal to 1.21 in a half wave rectifier, whereas the gamma value is 0.483 for both the your full wave rectifiers. And coming to the rectifier efficiency is around 40.5% for the half wave rectifier, whereas for the both the full wave rectifier it is 81%. Okay. Coming to the peak inverse voltage value for the half wave rectifier it is Vm. For the center tapped configuration it is 2 Vm. For the bridge configuration it is again Vm. Okay. And coming to the transformer utilization factors. So these are different from each of the configuration. In half wave rectifier it is 0.286, whereas in a center tapped configuration it is 0.672, whereas in a bridge rectifier configuration it is 0.81. Okay, so your transformer is most utilized in the bridge rectifier configuration. So we have some numerical problems, so which are very similar to that of your problems that we are done for our half wave rectifier. Again, they will be asking about this DC voltage, DC current, power derivative load, PIV, ripple voltage, frequency. Okay, so ripple voltage is nothing but your so you have this ripple factor, right? Ripple factor gamma is equal to under root VRMS square minus VDC square by VDC square. So in the numerator part alone, it's called as ripple voltage. Okay, this is called ripple voltage. Frequency of the ripple in the full wave rectifier it is twice that of supply frequency, which we already know. Sometimes they will be asking the TUF also, transformer utilization factor. So you need to find out that. So numericals already uploaded in the canvas, so you can go through them. So I'll start the next topic, which is your next application. So I'll be sharing that. So is my screen visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Is my screen? Yes. Okay. So next application is diode as clipper. So if you go back to the previous classes, we have written some diode applications. First is that diode can act as on or off switch. So we have seen the switching characteristics. Then we have seen the rectifier circuits. Okay, and then we'll be seeing the clipper circuits, and then so before we proceed to this clipper circuit, I forgot to mention one thing in the rectifier circuits. What type of output we are getting? Are we getting a constant rectified output or a kind of a ripple kind of output in the rectifier?
It is not constant. It is changing with time.
Right. So now what I'll be doing is I'll be showing you the MATLAB screen in which I'm going to somehow reduce the ripple content and will be making the output as a constant output. So okay, so let me open the MATLAB. Okay, so before the MATLAB opens, I'll orally tell you. So what we are going to do is we are going to use some kind of filter mechanism. So filter, what does a filter does is it will filter out the ripple content, and it will make the output as a smooth wave. So instead of a ripple content, we'll get a constant waveform in the output. Okay, so this we can do by employing filters. So filters can be, we'll be using passive filters like you can use a simple capacitor as a filter. You can use a combination of inductor and capacitor. So in the combination of inductor capacitor, that can be in different configuration. It can be in the shape of a pi shaped circuit. It can be in the form of L shaped circuit, or it can be in the shape of T shaped circuit. So depending upon what the shape the circuit of the filter is there, we can name that. So however, because it is not there in your syllabus, I'm not going to deeper into that. But however, I'll be teaching you only a basic capacitive circuit, capacitive filter circuit. I'll be opening that, and I'll be showing how your output can be filtered out to a smooth waveform. Because if you are have you ever opened your charger, mobile charger circuit? Have you ever opened your
Yes,
mobile
sir.
charger?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So sir, you might be seeing that you'll be having the combination of diodes. You'll be having the transformer also. You'll be having small transformer will be there. You'll be having the diodes, and you have the load resistor. Along with that, you'll be seeing some small capacitances, right? So these capacitances, and sometimes even your inductors will be also be there, depending upon what type of charger they are using and what is the range of the charger. uh, okay, so now I'll be opening the simulation circuit of a, is my screen visible to you, the MATLAB screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so first I'll be opening the filter circuit, half wave rectifier with filter. So each and every circuit I am making on my own. Okay, so I'm I'm just building with the basic circuit from the textbook and then designing my own circuit. So this half wave rectifier. Now what addition to the half wave rectifier in the filter circuit I have is a capacitor across your load circuit. Can you see this capacitor? Can you
Yes,
see
sir.
this capacitor? Yes. So let me check the capacitor value. So what's the capacitor value you are seeing on the screen? What's the capacitor value you are seeing on the screen? Please
1000
read it out.
microfarad.
1000 microfarad. Okay. Okay. Now I'll open this waveform, this scope, and we'll check the waveform. Okay. I'm running the simulation circuit. Everything else is the same. Okay. Now what you're seeing here, what you're seeing in the output voltage, can you see the sinusoidal voltages now in the output voltage? So I'll zoom it for you if you want. So can you see this? Can you see any kind of positive half cycles, sinusoidal half cycles? Can you see that? Or you are unable to see that? Please let me know what you're seeing on the screen now. What type of output voltage you are seeing? Please read it out. What you are seeing on the screen?
The change is very small, sir.
So change in voltage is very small. So you can see that in the at the time t is equal to 0, your voltage is 0, and then it is rising in the sinusoidal manner as normally. And then once it reaches the peak voltage of 10 volts, it starts to slow down. It starts to decrease in value. So in a linear, almost in a linear fashion, right? So it is decreasing, and after crossing that 0.02 seconds, again it is slightly increasing, and then again it is decreasing, decreasing, and all like that. Okay, what actually is happening is that initially I have taken a uncharged capacitor. Now initially the capacitor is charged to 10 volts. Once it is charged, it is going to discharge. Okay, once it reaches the peak voltage of 10 volts, it is going to discharge. So once it is going to discharge, the voltage across the capacitor is going to decrease. Okay, so and before it is fully discharged, it starts charging again. Okay, so that's what you can see, that rise in voltage again, and again it's going to discharge. This charging and discharge time will depend upon the time constant called tau is equal to R into C. Okay, so where R is the value of the resistance across the capacitor, C is the capacitance value. Okay, so lot more analysis is required for the circuit, but however I'm not going to do that. Okay, so however I'll be showing you uh, how you will get a constant output voltage by changing the parameter of your either your resistance or your capacitance. Okay, so instead of R equal to 100 ohms, so let me take R is equal to 1000 ohms. Okay, so let me now check what happens to your output voltage. So what you're seeing now, is it much flatter than before? Output voltage.
Almost
Please.
linear, sir.
Almost linear, right? Now again change the value. So instead of 1000, I'll take 10,000. So what you are getting? Are you getting a linear output?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right? So depending upon R and C values, your output is going to depend. So in actual practical lab scenario, what you will be given is, you will be given a load resistor, will be given, and a capacitor will be given to you. All you need to do is that you need to check the ripple values. So ripple voltage in the output. Okay, so you will still have some kind of small ripple will be there. So like earlier case, you have seen that charging and discharging part that might be there. You need to find out that ripple factor every time. Okay, ripple factor gamma value you need to find out in every case. For different input voltage you need to find out the uh, gamma value with and without filters. That shall be your normal physical experiment. Okay, only thing you need to know that, so depending upon the product of this resistance and capacitance value, your output might be having some ripples, or it can be a constant voltage. So you can filter out all the ripple content by taking proper values of your load resistor and capacitor. Okay, this for half a filter. Then I will be opening the full way filter circuit also. So this is a full way bridge rectifier filter. Okay. So here also only thing, everything else is the same bridge rectifier circuit. Only thing I have added the capacitor over here. So it is again the same 1000 microfarad. Okay, and then I'll run this circuit now. So only thing you need to concentrate is about the output voltage. You forget about the remaining waveforms. So we'll not go dig deeper there. So what type of output voltage you are seeing again? Please tell me what type of output voltage you are seeing. So it's charging and discharging, exponential charging and discharging current frequency, but it's more or less better than rectifier without filter, right? So you can see that ripple content has drastically reduced. Okay, so if you want to still improve and make it further constant, so either you can change the capacitance value also. Okay, I'll take a large value. But if you take the large capacitance value in parallel circuit with much less resistance, so you might end up with a large initial transient current. Okay. That you need to take care of. Okay. So can you see this? It is much flatter now, right? Compared to the previous case, is it not much flatter? Please let me know.
Yes, sir.
Now you can again change the resistance value. So resistor instead of 100 ohms, I'll take it 1000, or I'll make it 10,000. What you're getting in the output voltage? What you're getting in the output voltage? A constant curve, right? A
Constant.
constant DC. So this so you can practically also you can create a charger with constant output voltage by taking the simple voltage source from your socket, power socket. You can take the 230 volts. You can use a small transformer to convert that high voltage into low voltage. Maybe 10 volts or 5 volts you can take, and you can create a small charger. You can create a small 5 volts charger. Okay, so when you have time, you please try to create your own charger. Okay, so fast charging is a different concept, so do not try that in the beginning stage. Just try a normal uh, constant voltage charger. Okay, know that in a fast charger your voltage is not constant, it varies. Your voltage and current values will be different. Okay, so this is about that. Now I'll be starting this diode clipper circuit. I think time is less, so I'll quickly move on to that. So basically a clipper is nothing but which going to remove some portion of the applied waveform. So if you have a sinusoidal waveform, so whichever portion we do not like, you will be cutting that or clipping that portion of the applied waveform. Okay, so a wave shaping circuit which controls the shape of the output waveform by removing or clipping a portion of the applied wave is known as clipping circuit. And where do we use this clipper means basically, most of the electronics will be going to use that. So wherever we require a different shape of waveform other than your normal standard sinusoidal waveform, we'll going to use that. So in case of generating new waveforms or shaping the existing older waveforms, we'll be using the clippers. So clippers can also be used as freewheeling diodes in protecting the transistors from transient effects. So we'll be sometimes using the clippers across your transistors. Okay, and they're commonly used in the power supplies. Okay, so you might be using your function generator, and you know the about function generator. A function generator will give different voltages of different wave shapes. So you might like to have not only a sinusoidal voltage, you might have a triangular waveform, you might have a trapezoidal waveform, or you might like to have a square waveform. So you say function generator generates different waveforms, okay, different shapes. So in such kind of function generators also you may use a clipper circuit, and in the separation of synchronizing signals from the composite color picture of the signals. So in the usually in the TV or FMs, they'll be using this clipper circuits. So frequently used in FM transmitters for removing the excess ripples in the signal, okay, above a certain noise level. So to reduce the noise level, they may use the clipper circuits. So let us go into the actual clipper circuit by use of diode. So different types of diodes, clippers are there, but basically, or give a broad view, I can divide them into series clippers, parallel clippers or shunt clippers, and then biased clippers, and then combination. Okay, so series clipper means your diode clipper will be in series with the load, and then parallel clipper means your your diode clipper will be in parallel to the load, and then bias clipper means you will be introducing the voltage bias in the clipper circuit. A combination will be a combination of all the three will be there. Okay, first I'll start with the series positive clipper. Is the slide visible to you? Please let me know. Is the slide visible to you? Right.
Yes, sir.
So what you have is a simple voltage or sinusoidal signal you have, and then you have a load resistor. You have diode and load resistor are in series. However, you can see that the diode cathode is connected to the voltage source, whereas anode is connected towards the load resistor. So cathode is connected to the power supply and anode is maintained at the ground potential. So what happens is, so when a positive half cycle is flowing in the circuit from the supply, what happens? Diode D1 will be in off condition or on condition? Please
Off
let
condition.
me know. So please speak out. For the positive half cycle of the input, diode D1 is in forward bias or in reverse bias?
Reverse way.
What? Reverse bias. For the positive half cycle, your diode D1 will be in reverse bias. So it acts like a open circuit. So when your diode is in off condition, what happens? So this RL will be isolated from the source. So across the RL, there will not be any voltage at all. So Vout is a voltage across the RL. So throughout the positive half cycle, your diode D1 will be in off condition, and then output voltage will be maintained at 0. Okay, so your output voltage is 0 for the positive half cycle. You can see in the waveform over here. For the positive half cycle of the input, output voltage is 0. And then for the negative half cycle of the input, diode D1 will be in forward bias condition. So this acts like a closer switch. So what are the voltage is there you are giving from the supply? It will reach the load resistor. Okay, so the voltage across your RL will be equal to the supply voltage. So if you neglect that drop across your diode, then it will be equal to that of your supply voltage. Otherwise, your V0 will be equal to V in plus Vd, where D is the diode voltage drop across your diode. Okay, so for your most of the conditions, we will not take this Vd. So I can say that if Vd is not considered, V0 is equal to V in. Okay, so I'll be showing this again in the Simulink circuit. Okay, can you see this circuit? Is my circuit visible to you? Simulink circuit?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. So I have simple voltage source, I have a load resistor, and then I have a diode. So here I'm not taking the measuring port, I'm not enabling that. And this diode is connected in such a way that cathode is connected to the source and anode is connected towards the load resistor. Okay, and I have taken an input voltage measuring unit and then an output voltage measuring unit. Okay, so as simple as that. I have not used any kind of transformers in between. I removed all the transformers. Now I'm going to measure only input voltage and output voltage. Okay, so if I run this circuit, so what you are seeing on the screen? For the time period between 0 to 0.01, what is the input voltage? What is the output voltage? What's the input voltage for the time period between 0 to 0.01?
0, sir.
Input voltage. I'm asking about the input voltage. You are seeing.
10, sir. 10, sir.
It's peak value is 10. It's a sinusoidal positive half cycle, right? Whereas for the output, it is equal to 0. For the negative half cycle, it is negative half cycle of the input. You have same identical to that of the source voltage. So you can see that source voltage and output voltage are one and the same. Both are sinusoidal negative half cycles. Okay. So this is your positive series clipper. So what we have clipped here, what we have cut down.
Positive half cycle, sir.
So positive half cycle, entire positive half cycle, we trimmed it down, right? We have removed that positive half cycle. That's why it is called as positive clipper. So we have clipped down the positive half cycle. Okay. And then we are left out with the negative half cycle. This is a positive clipper. Now we will move on to the next clipper. Next is series negative clipper. So please tell me whether you have seen this circuit somewhere.
Half-wave rectifier.
Yes, it's a half-wave rectifier. So you can see the output waveform is also half-wave rectifier. So in the half-wave rectifier, what we are doing, we are taking the positive half cycle in the output, whereas we are removing the negative half cycle, right? We are removing the negative half cycle of the input waveform in the output. The negative half cycle, we are getting a 0, right? So I can call a half-wave rectifier as a series negative clipper, as simple as that. So your half-wave rectifier is nothing but a series negative clipper. So what are in series here? Either in the previous circuit or this circuit, your diode clipper is in series with your load resistor. These two are in series. That's why it is called series clipper. Okay. So your diode is in series with the load resistor. So again, like earlier, so I think already this circuit is already known to you. But anyway, I'll again open that with a simple series negative clipper. So I've done that only at 2 p.m. Just before the class, I created all the circuits. So if I run this circuit, your positive half cycle is remaining in the output, whereas your negative half cycle is ripped off. It is cut down, right? So that's why I call this as a negative clipper. We are removing the negative portion of the circuit. Simple. A source voltage is there, and then you have a diode, and then you have a resistor in series. And here anode is connected to the source. In a positive clipper, we are connected the cathode to the source. That's the only difference. And then I'll move on to the next clipper. So these are simple circuits only. So it's a shunt positive clipper. Okay. So here the thing is that, so in the earlier cases, your diode is in series with your load voltage, that is a V out, whereas here diode is in parallel across your output voltage. So this R is not your load resistor. This R is not your load resistor. Okay, your load itself is connected across your diode terminals. So V out is connected in parallel to that of your diode D1. Okay, and you can see this how your circuit is connected. Anode is connected towards the source and cathode is connected towards the ground. Okay, so if you connect in this way, for the positive half cycle, your diode D1 is in a on condition or off condition. Please let me know. For the positive half cycle of the input, your diode
On
D1
condition.
on condition. So when it is on, what happens? Your diode D1 acts like a closed circuit or a closed switch. Okay, when it's a closed switch, what happens? The voltage across your diode D1 will be a small drop VD. At this, it will be VD. If you're considering an ideal diode, that voltage will be equal to 0. Okay, so if you're considering an ideal diode, your voltage across the diode will be equal to 0. But for a practical diode, you may observe small forward drop voltage, maybe 0.7 volts for a germanium or silicon diodes. It means it may range from 0.2 to 0.7 volts. That's a forward drop voltage across the diode. only that voltage will be there. Okay, so the positive half cycle, if you consider ideal diode, your voltage will be equal to 0. For the negative half cycle, your diode D1 will be in off condition. So diode D1 will be in off condition, means this is open circuit. So what are the output voltage you are giving? Sorry, what are the input voltage you are giving? It will appear across your output terminals. Okay, if you are giving a negative half cycle, that will appear across your output terminals. Okay, so for the negative half cycle, V0 is equal to V in. For the positive half cycle, V0 is equal to Vd. Now again, I'll do it in the MATLAB Simulink. Series is over, series negative over. Next, parallel shunt positive clipper. We have removed the positive half cycle. Okay, so here I'm considering that diode forward voltage as 0 volts. Okay, can you see this here? What's the diode forward voltage VF I have given?
0.
0 volts, right? So that's why I'll be getting in the output, I'll be getting 0 volts. So I'll run this circuit. For the positive half cycle, I'll get it as 0. Okay, whereas for the negative half cycle, I'm getting the same as input voltage. So I have cut down the positive half cycle. So I'm calling it as a positive clipper. So if in case I take the positive voltage forward voltage as, let us say, 0.7 volts. Okay. Okay, now let me rerun this. Can you see this small increase in voltage?
Mm.
Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
That voltage is nothing but your forward voltage drop across your diode. So in this case, it is 0.7 volts. Okay. So for ideal diode, it will be entire positive half cycle will be cut down. But if it's not a ideal diode, if it's a practical diode in which you have a small voltage drop across your diode, that voltage drop will be appearing across your output terminals. And then I have a shunt negative clipper. So with this I'll end. I'll discuss regarding the bias clippers in the next class. So here the circuit is very much similar to the positive shunt positive clipper. Only thing is that here cathode is connected to the supply terminals, whereas anode is connected to the ground. Okay. So here for the positive half cycle, your diode D1 is in off condition. So whatever the supply is given, that will appear across your output terminals. Okay. Whereas for the negative half cycle, your diode D1 will be in forward bias condition, and then your output voltage will be equal to voltage across this diode D1. If it's ideal diode, voltage will be equal to 0. If it's a practical diode, your voltage will be equal to your diode voltage, the minus Vd. Okay, because this is plus in the bottom, we have plus, we have minus in the top, so V0 will be equal to minus Vd. That's the only thing. So I'll open that again. So shunt negative clipper. So initially I'm considering an ideal diode. So what you're seeing in the output, you're getting the positive half cycle, you're not getting the negative half cycle, right? Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
So we are cutting down the negative half cycle. So it is called a negative clipper because your diode is connected across your load terminals. So in parallel to your load terminals, that's why it is said to be parallel clipper or a shunt clipper. So parallel shunt means the same thing. Okay. So in case instead of an ideal diode, now I'll be considering a practical diode. with 0.7 volts. Okay. So now what you're observing over here for the output, for the negative half cycle, you're seeing that until that minus 0.7 volts, your voltage is, you are observing the voltage, right? In the negative half cycle, your voltage is equal to minus 0.7. Okay, that is equal to minus VD. Can you see that over here? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the negative clipper. This is for a practical diode. So you need to differentiate between ideal diode and a practical diode. Okay, so let me check if simple clipper circuits are over. So this bias circuits I will explain the next class. I'll take the attendance and I'll close the session. If you have any doubts, you can ask me in the meanwhile. So as I told you earlier, from today there will not be any kind of locking of modules or anything. So I'll open all the modules, but due dates will be given. So if you're submitting after the due date, it will be regarded as a late submission. Okay.